What's up YouTube, this is Dennis Panuta for tutorialsEU/Unity. In this video you are going to learn how to customize your user interface in Unity by dragging and dropping your different windows around and also saving your layout that you have set up. So before we get started, I would really appreciate if you hit that like button and the subscribe button while you're at it, and also check out the entire playlist where we are going to build multiple games together. So I hope to see you in the other videos as well, but now let's get started. In the last video, you learned about how the user interface of Unity is structured and the different windows. So you saw how the hierarchy window works and what it does for us. Then you saw the project window as well as the inspector, the scene and the game windows. And in this video, we're going to look at some more windows and see how we can get them back if we, for some reason, close them, for example. And we're going to see how we can change the layout of our windows in Unity, because this is something that is highly customizable. So here you see there is this console window that is there by default as well, and we haven't covered yet. In the console window, you will get console notifications such as error messages, warnings, scripted messages directly from your code. This is very useful for debugging, and even Unity will give you direct information about, for example, where you have an error or which game object caused the problem or something like that. Let's look at what happens if we close this window. So let's close this console, and there are multiple ways to do that. Either we right click here and click on close tab, or we click on these three dots here and then we can close the tab as well. So now our console is gone. But what if we need the console now? Well, no problem. We can get the console back anytime. Just go to window here at the top, and you can see that there are a bunch of windows that we have not used and are not there by default, which are really dependent on the game that you're building. So if you want to work with animation, then you would need the animation window and the animator window. If you want to mix audio, the audio mixer will be very useful. But then in general, that's where you find the general windows that are there by default, such as the project window, hierarchy, and so forth. And you see here the console as well. There are a bunch more windows, and we're going to use quite some of them along the way throughout this course. But for now, let's focus on the ones that we have by default, as well as the layout. So let's get back our console, and you see this window pops up, which is now a floating window, and we can drag it, for example, back where it was, or we can drag it here to the top next to the scene and the game window, and we can basically position it where we want. We can even position it in the second screen. So let's say we have multiple screens, then we can put a bunch of windows on the second screen and could develop our game this way. So this really highly depends on the game that you're building and on the situation and what type of developer you are as well. So then here at the top right hand corner, you see this keyword default. Here you can change the layout of those different windows in your Unity application. So default is the one that we had by default. So let me go back there. You see the console is back here. Then there is the 2x3, where you can see we have the scene at the top left-hand side, the game at the bottom left-hand side. So those two windows, and then the other windows are here on the right-hand side next to each other. Then you have the 4 split. If you want to see your scene from different perspective, from top, front, right, and well, the perspective view. And then you still have the hierarchy as well as project and inspector. Then you have the tall version, which is something that I personally like as well. So here you have the scene on the left-hand side, and then the game view also on the left hand side in a huge area. So this is a lot more visible, and you can play around in your scene a lot better. So it really depends on what you prefer. I personally like the default view. In the end, you can use whatever layout you want to use. You can set it up how you want it to be, but I'm going to use the default one, which will then be easier for you to follow as well. So if you want to follow along how I do it, just use the default view and you will not be confused if suddenly I'm dragging something around. It will make a lot more sense and will be easier to follow. Now let's say you created your very own layout. Well, you wouldn't want to have to redo the entire layout every single time you reopen the application. So let's say you have your animations here at the bottom, then you have rendering for lighting at the top right hand side, and you would like this to be the layout that is stored, and once you come back to Unity, it will recover this layout that you have created. So if you want to save your layout, you can just go ahead and save your layout to a file and then select the location where you want to save your layout. So here I could call this one my layout WLT. And then once you close Unity and you come back, you can load the layout from a file, my layout WLT. You can also just save the layout. This will not be saved in a separate file, but if you now close your Unity, it will first of all ask if you want to save the changes in the scene. If you ever made any changes, then you can close it and then come back to it using the Unity hub. So here, let's run my first game. And you will see that your layout will be saved. Now, if you by accident go over to default, now you can load the layout from the file that you just created. So let's do that real quick. And you can see we have animation and lighting back up. All right. So that's the little overview of how you can create your own layout and restore it. And of course, you can close tabs that you don't need anymore.
Thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Now you're one step closer to becoming a Unity game developer. And if you haven't liked the video yet, please do so now, as well as subscribe. And also make sure to follow along in the playlist to become a real Unity developer. And if you want to fast track the whole development process of becoming a developer, then definitely check out our Unity masterclass, in which you're going to build a bunch of games, and while doing so, learn everything you need to know about game development and, well, have your first couple of projects under your belt. So check it out. The link is in the description below. You will get a huge discount, and I hope to see you in the next video.